Good evening, everybody. Um, Kind of doing a series of videos on the different art projects I've been doing with Michael. Now, just kind of heads up, there's been a lot of things that have been happening in my personal life over the last year and a half. And these projects are definitely things I've been trying to do with my son. And I pretty much have only been doing these with my son present almost entirely. Basically in an effort to kind of just, be close to my kid and do fun things with him, teach him art. And it's also therapeutic for me because I've been an artist for a long time and I just love doing stuff with my hands. And I like working with a variety of mediums. And the medium for today or tonight is Epoxy-Clay or air dry clay. And now there's a difference. Now, this right here and this spider creature, which is going to become a black widow of some kind, and this, which is going to be some weird creature from a video game from one of Michael's many YouTube channels he watches. It's a type of air dry clay that I honestly don't like that much. It's kind of rubbery. It's kind of, I don't know. I kind of like with this one over here, I used copper wire and I put aluminum foil around it and then covered it with the clay. Now, that's good for saving clay. I've been doing that with a bunch of these. Like almost all these are, like this guy, little Kirby, he's made of aluminum foil covered in Milliput. I call it Milliputty, but it's Milliput. That's the actual name. So this is just some air dry clay, like a $4 container that they had over at Hobby Lobby. Now this, however, also Hobby Lobby, this is going to be triclide. It looks very rough, and that's exactly what it is. It also feels like cement. It really feels like cement. And what I didn't like about this is that initially it's very, very sticky, and I wasn't wearing gloves. I had to use acetone to wash my hands. And I don't like having to do that. Not that I'm afraid of acetone, but yeah, I should let this stuff like dries in an hour for the most part. It takes a day to fully cure, but it's basically dry, hardened within an hour or so. I should have waited like 30 minutes because the stuff didn't really want to stick to the aluminum and the wire as well as the rest of the material does. I mean, I wouldn't say the air dry clay is that great, but I would say that the Milliput is way better when it comes to sticking onto aluminum and copper wire. But yeah, so triclide, this is kind of huge. I mean, it's, as a Mario 2 character, I mean, it's actually way bigger than I should have made it. I should have made it about like 2/3 that size. Oh well, I was trying to use up the two $5 containers of this new material I never mess with, and that I'm only going to mess with one more time, and that's going to be to finish this and to give it better solid detail and to make the give the bottom a little bit more of a base. Anyway, and this little snail creature, that's also that same material, but Michael also, you can see there's the silvery material is the aluminum foil. And so yeah, he basically was using that. And in fact, this one also has some in it. So Michael has some unfinished projects here. And then this is I made this with him though, and this is going to be a egg sack because he loves spiders. Now the first project I actually did is house head. Now I didn't do all the fancy looking ink, but I made the house head. I use this really crappy aluminum wire, which I'll never use again, to get the legs. It looks cool, but the legs broken many times. In fact, I had to recently again reattach them with the clay and reinforce the knees. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to add a little more of that clay. I'm going to cover up some of these little spots. However, just like last time, I had to fix it, the legs. It will look better afterwards. it will, like, honestly, the imperfections will make it look like a more menacing creature. Oh crap, I just broke that leg. Yeah, that's annoying. This is why I use copper wire now. So this little creature, I made the legs, they were thinner, and it's just kind of, it's been something Michael wanted to make into a really cool looking Black Widow. It didn't quite turn out that way, and I got impatient, and then I had extra clay from other things we were doing, and I didn't want it to just dry and do nothing, so I would stick it to this guy, and then I gave him a face with 3 eyes just for the heck of it. This little worm creature is actually, Michael and I did this one together, but he actually made 3 of these out of different colored silly putty. And so I said, you know what, why don't we make one out of Milliput, right? And so we did, and that's what it is. We might clean it up a little bit. He wanted it to look more rough. You know, the other ones looked way cleaner. I'm like, come on. So he's like, no, I want to leave it this way. Okay. So there's more of his stuff. Basically, anything here that is just not going to be anything yet, we can always literally combine with more clay to make it into something else. That's the great thing about the stuff, is you can stick more, more clay onto it. I got a Mario mushroom. I need to sand it, but basically I had to fill in some of the stuff before I do sanding, and it sticks on really well. The adhesion is great. That's what I love about Milliput. I've got, so Michael and I did this, this is the egg from the xenomorph of Aliens, you know, because he's into all the stuff. We need a pair of dice, which you can see where I added more material afterwards. Once it's all sanded, it'll look great, actually. I mean, that's just kind of me having fun with them, saying, hey, let's make some dice. I have an in-progress 8-bit version of Link from Legend of Zelda, because Michael started watching the old cartoon from the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to make a Link from my era. So actually, going back in time, after we did Househead, started doing these Pac-Man characters, right? Did some big ones. Again, mostly aluminum foil, so these are actually pretty dang light. And then we got multiple little ghosts, right? That's the version. And this white acrylic paint is not that great a paint. There's better stuff. I did prime these things with a spray primer, but in any case, one of these guys is missing. So I have currently 4 ghosts. I should have 5 little ones. So, and then made a little version of Pac-Man to go along with them, right? So while I was doing that, Michael did this sort of blue from Rainbow Friends, and I cleaned it up, but the head, which is supposed to be a crown, it looks like a bunch of poop. So I keep telling him, yeah, it's all poop, Michael. He's like, no, it's not. Right. Likewise, there's another version of blue Pac-Man thing that Michael did. We may modify these in the future, but we might just leave them as they are for the sake of reference and memories. But then there's this guy right here. This is a little more menacing, and this is the Boo Ghosty from Mario 3. And I did use some wire for the wings and the tail, but this one is actually, like, probably half of that is actually Milliput. And I added the fangs later on, because so they still need to be sanded. I'm going to rub some wet Milliput between all that stuff probably before I even do sanding, because I should be able to actually clean it up and make it not look so rough just by adding more material. And then I'm either going to do a casting of this and make some epoxy resin copies, or I'm going to just paint it and set it up on my shelf, right? So I mentioned that we have Kirby. Pretty simple. I'm going to cover up these little lines by just adding more clay to them, and then rubbing it with like a wet brush or a wet finger, basically. So then we've got Ba-Bomb. another Mario character. This one was really simple and easy to make. It's really not hard to get this one right, but I do want to do some cleaning up, obviously. So we got the mushroom. You can see his actual face, but again, got to clean them up. It's easier to do while they're wet, but you know, we've got the Black Mage from Final Fantasy 1, which is definitely a pretty cool looking character and pretty simple too. And that's kind of why I did this character, is to make him simple. Now, if you ever see like old toys and they have these sort of weird lines on the bottom, it's because it's from whoever sculpted them, right? They got sculpted and then they got cast with silicone mold or whatever, and then they got filled in with epoxy resin, and that's just kind of what happens. So we've got Goomba. Okay, I need to add his eyebrows. I could always add some wings. Definitely gonna clean him up, but I had to reinforce the feet because he was leaning backwards as he was drying. So I had to kind of bolster him up. We've got, I can't remember what this guy is called. It's Fry Guy, or not Fry Guy. It's one of the characters from Mario 2, aka Doki Doki Panic. And I've been adding a little bit to his feet. I need to kind of fix the back a little bit down here, but I'm pretty satisfied overall with how he's been turning out. So, and then we've got my favorite one so far, which is Bubble Bobble. I need to obviously fix a few spots, but his old mohawk, fins turned out pretty good. I got to fix his stomach, make it more presentable, but he's got his little arms. He's got the eyes with the pupils, makes him look kind of dorky. He's got the smile turned out pretty good. Little cheeks, little round rosy cheeks. My son asked me, "Is it Bubble or is it Bobble?" I'm like, "It's both. It's Bubble Bobble." When this one's finished, I definitely plan on making a casting of it so that I can make some plastic copies, because I think that'd be pretty cool once it's finished. Now his tail, this is unintentional, but the tail is kind of tilting to the side. That's okay because it makes it look like he's walking. So just little details. And so yeah, this has also been kind of like with my powwow fans. This stuff's all been kind of a work in progress over the last, year to year and a half. So I definitely, I've had fun. Michael's definitely had fun. And why wouldn't we, right? We get to bond as father and son. We get to make some cool looking stuff. And I get to expose him to characters and things that I loved when I was his age. And I get to also help him build other things from his age, which are kind of much more weird in my opinion than the stuff that I liked. But, always seems that way generationally. So anyway, yeah, so the plan is to make some silicone molds out of some of these once we have finished them. And then I still got to add the fuse. Michael wants to see a piece of string to act as the fuse. I might add a piece of wire, do some little lines on it with a file to make it look like it's, a fuse. And then when I cast it, it'll all be plastic. So, but we'll see. Yeah, let me know what you think. And I'll catch y'all later.